Welcome to another episode of Mechanic Hour with Juicing.Systems.
So this is a video to replace the bushings on a KB750 wash arm. The KB500 and up has this style of bushings, so single and double bell presses run on the same principles. We do have replaced in newer models or upon request, we can replace the bushings with bearings. It requires a total new assembly of the wash arm, but it is available. These bushings should be changed. Depends how long and hard you run it, but every 100 days of pressing, you should probably look at these and see if you have any play in these arms, these wash arms. So this is the wash arm there in action. It goes back and forth, and it's used to wash the belt. It's an integral part of the machine. If that belt is not cleaned on a regular base, then you will lose yields and you're gonna make a mess out of your press, because the product has to go somewhere. If it can't go through the belt, it'll push sideways and out into your juice pan and so forth. So here we see one of the bearings, and the easiest way to get it out is basically deform it. It is split in the middle, and you can see there's a split right there. So that is the place where you want to hammer with a chisel and kind of fold it in on itself, basically, and then just pull it out. Here are the new bearings, and you can see the split there, and this is the drawbar or the connecting arm that connects it from the motor crank right there, which we replaced into the wash arm. This is a little unconventional way to put it together. We have to push these bushings back into the wash arm, and we want to use a soft material. We use a plank of wood here, but basically you don't want to use a hard hammer to. If you have a good rubber mallet, you can use that. We found a piece of wood works best because it doesn't damage the bushing itself. Then you crank it back together. You make sure it's tight. If the bushing is not in properly, the top and the bottom one, then you're going to feel resistance on your arm, and you don't want that because the motor works much harder, and there's a chance of overloading the motor if it works too hard. So make sure that arm, the bushings are in if need be. Give it a bang from once it's together, so we have a smooth running of that. The easiest way to get that big bushing out is to actually remove the crossbar. Now this is the funny part here. Here are the screws and the washers that hold the connecting arm from the crank to the wash arm, connected to the wash arm and the crank. And it's a bit of an unconventional way to put this together. It's a bit counterintuitive because the tensioning washer actually goes into the countersunk part of the metal washer, and then the glycodor washer here goes on not against the washer part. And the reason is, once this is put together, the wash arm here, the drawbar, sits on this crank, but when we actually put it together, it's pretty loose, and it will drop down and actually touch that glycodor washer. As you can see that we put the tensioning washer, the screw to tensioning washer, the metal washer with the countersunk side facing down towards the washer, and then the glycodor washer facing up with the glycodor side, because that tensioning bar will drop down and touch that washer. So we want that gliding part towards that bar, and be careful not to tension it too hard. And you can see that there's a play in there. So see that bar that goes across will eventually drop down and touch that washer that right now sits very loose. The same is true on the other end. Screw, tensioning washer, thick metal washer, glycodor washer that sits over top of the nubbin that comes down from the wash arm. And so the tensioning washer and the metal washer actually do not touch the glycodor washer. They are tight against the wash arm to give that little bit of play that this arm needs to work properly. And once it's back together, You see the tension on there. There is a bit of play, very little. If you have a lot of play, you will see that you have, you know, an inch or so at the end of the wash arm play, and that's a good time to change these bushings. What can happen is you can damage your crank because the metal parts of these are we want the bushing to wear and not the metal part, not the nubbin. And if you don't change them soon enough, you will have brass, like the inside of the washer is a brass kind of type or softer metal, but it will eat away at your stainless nubbin, and then you'd have to change the crank as well as the arm. And those are expensive pieces. They're in the hundreds of dollars because they're manufactured laser cut. So it's easier to change that little bushing, that glycodor bushing, rather than the wash arm itself. As I said, it's a preventative maintenance. You don't want to leave this until it's broken, because although we do have a drawbar and a crank in stock, it's expensive. Like, we're talking $300 for a crank, $300 for the wash arm, for this arm. So it's easier to get those, you know, $40 worth of bushings and replace it once a year in your scheduled maintenance.